Try Google. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be finding out whether or not Evernight Book Box is worth it. Alright, before we get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, are you subscribed to the Evernight Book Box? Are you interested in it? So this is going to be a first for me, mostly because I have always been nervous about book boxes, particularly ones where you don't know what the book is, because it's really a gamble whether or not you're actually going to want to read that book. That's a big reason of why I've never subscribed to like Lukrembo, Fairy Loot. There's so many out there, honestly, and for a lot of time I really only was advertised the fantasy ones, occasionally a romance, and I'm a really picky about my romance, so I knew that wasn't gonna happen. But since I've started trying to read more horror, since I've learned I actually really enjoy horror books, I've been intrigued by those. But when I saw the first Evernight book box come out, which was Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno Garcia, I couldn't help myself. It was gorgeous. I did actually quite like that book, so I thought, you know, hey, I'll officially try it out. Evernight is a quarterly horror book box subscription that goes through Illumicrate. All Evernight books are darker reads, from paranormal to psychological. They highlight older and newer authors within the horror genre and try to spotlight more diverse horror. Plus, every book you receive is an exclusive edition with an exclusive cover, solid color sprayed, stenciled pattern, or digitally printed edges. As somebody who adores a pretty edge, all over that. Signed by the author, exclusive artwork printed on the book, and that could be either in papers or a reverse dust jacket, and then a design on the hardback board of the book, either foiled or full color. I do want to say I'm only going to be reading 3 of these books, and it is 3 that have come out a good few months in the past. That way nobody has to worry about spoilers. A new book is going to be coming out in October, which is when this video should be coming out as well. That one will not be included here, though I am highly anticipating it. First up, the April 2024 book was Murder Road by Simone St. James. Now, I was very excited for this one as I read 3 books from this author in the past and really enjoyed every single one of them. All of those tended to have some sort of a paranormal element, a little bit of a romance in the background, and a dual timeline following some mystery. This one specifically is set in 1995, and we're following April and Eddie, who have taken a wrong turn while trying to go on their honeymoon and end up finding a woman on the road in trouble. They stop and pick her up, but only once she's in the car do they see that she is covered in blood. They immediately take her to the nearest hospital in Cold Lake Falls, but unfortunately become the prime suspects in the eyes of the local police. But it turns out this isn't the first victim to die on that stretch of road. It's also not the first time survivors have seen something that they can't explain. So unfortunately, April and Eddie get pulled into solving the mystery themselves. I am definitely excited about this one. The cover to me just screams like old school Archie comics, and I love that about it. It is still unsettling. It does have some romance going on. You know, I'm a big fan of paranormal in my mysteries, so we're really excited to see that as well. Whoops, okay, I actually did these out of order. This one should have gone first. From January 2024's box is the Invocations by Krystal, Sutherland, and I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna know anything going into this, and that's because I'm planning to use it for a prompt on my Reddit fantasy bingo board. I need to judge a book by its cover, and given the fact that this one is absolutely stunning and I have somehow still gone without learning what this book actually is about, I'm gonna make it count. I want to make it count. Very tiny bits I've picked up on is that there's witches. There's some sort of a mystery. I think Krystal Sutherland's prior book had queer rep, so this may have queer rep in it as well. That's all you really need to know to be intrigued to read it. So I'm very sorry if you came here for a full synopsis. Try Google. But here's hoping that I do love this one. And then finally, from July 2024 is a book that I was highly anticipating, so I was even more excited when I got it in this book box. The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika. I've heard a lot of positive things about this one, that it's got some good for her energy, some female rage. I've also heard it compared to Mayfly by CJ Lead, which I really enjoyed last year, so I can't wait for this one. In this one, we're following Ji-woon, whose life is unfortunately in disarray after her father's affair is revealed and he ends up leaving. Her mother is completely distraught. She and her little sister are incredibly hurt, but in comes George, her mother's new boyfriend, who is obnoxious and creepy, and unfortunately ends up living with them in their claustrophobic apartment. And the longer he's there, the more her hunger and rage begins to grow. Her dreams are horrifying yet enticing. In them, she walks through bloody rooms full of blue eyeballs, salivating, perfect male eyes. Like I said, I heard a lot of positive things about this one from early reviewers, and then this edition is disgustingly beautiful. I cannot wait. So those are the 3 books we're gonna be reading, and on that note, I will talk to y'all again when I've started into one of them. I have not typed up a single thought on this book. This will be a very fun update to try and edit together. I definitely meant to talk to y'all like halfway, maybe even 2/3 of the way through this book, but instead you're getting me here now where I've finished it. I'll be honest, I did finish it in mostly a single setting. This book definitely has Simone St. James's bingeability. It's just so compulsively readable. I actually enjoyed a lot of the story until we started getting answers. It's so strange to me that I was interested in the characters, I was very invested in the mystery, I wanted them to figure out what was going on and clear their names, but once we actually started uncovering everything going on in the story, it weirdly felt very convenient and so outlandish at the same time. And that's not even mentioning the fact that it's also paranormal, which I did expect. Simone St. James's work do tend to have an element of paranormal mixed into the mystery. I expected it, but this one is a lot more at the forefront of the story. It's also interesting to me that this is the first of her work that I've read where it doesn't have the 2 timelines going on, where you have events of the past being explored and then events of the future where they eventually coincide. That doesn't happen here, but it also kind of does without actually seeing through the character of the past's eyes. And I almost wonder if St. James had stuck with that layout, if I might have enjoyed it more, if it would have made more sense. But also the final reveal, the big twist of like who was responsible for this. In this story, the way it's told, it seems so outlandish, so out of nowhere. Like she really does not lead you to that answer. Meaning once it's revealed, it's like, what? Where did that come from? But I think if maybe this did have the 2 timeline element, she would have given herself time to set the basis for that and lead you in that direction, making that twist more believable. I did like this book. I'm not really surprised by that because again, St. James's work is just so consumable. You can blast through it so quickly, as I did. I liked both the characters, I liked the exploration of their backgrounds. Each of them have some hidden elements to them that sort of explain why they're actually good at investigating this. It was weird to me that once we're getting answers is when my enjoyment of the story went down, because I just had so many questions. I was so curious about how this was possibly going to work out. In the end, it just didn't feel as satisfying of an answer as I was expecting. So this came out to like 3.5 stars. I did like it. I do think I'm gonna keep it because it's just so freaking pretty, but not a new favorite. It just doesn't live up to The Sundown Motel or The Broken Girls, in my opinion. Hey y'all, so I have surpassed actually the halfway point, and the eyes are the best part, which, you know, I'm doing very poorly at like stopping myself while reading these books, which is a good thing because I think that showcases that they're very bingeable and like just really consumable stories. Definitely am thinking that about this one. This book though, I feel like has a lot more commentary going on in it than Murder Road did. Our main character is Korean. Unfortunately, her mother is taken up dating this white guy. They really can't even communicate that well. He does speak some Korean and her mother speaks some English, but so uncomfortable because it takes them 15 minutes to figure out what the other is trying to say. And like on one hand, that could be very sweet and very romantic, except for the fact that this guy is just red flag city. Oh my God, so unsettling and so creepy. And the more our main character learns about him, the more she hates him. Along with that, she's slowly getting this urge to consume eyeballs. Initially, it starts out as fish eyeballs. Really, blue eyes are what she's really beginning to crave. The descent into depravity that we're watching our main character go through is so unsettling. But then also, the more we see about her background and the more we come to understand that she's not as sweet and innocent as you initially believe, though she is still naive in certain things. There's a guy she's recently made friends with at her college who also is sending up some big marinara flags. However, she also has this new friendship with this girl Alexis in one of her classes as well. I really like the character work that's going on. I also really just enjoy seeing her relationship with her little sister, who knows her so well and can tell something's up, but like Ji-woong just doesn't want to open up to her because she's only 15. She's really very young and she's already having to deal with some of the home issues as well. And then on the opposite side with her mother, keeps protecting her from some of the aspects of their life and what Ji-woong is going through. She just wants her mom to be happy. She thinks she deserves it. A little bit of normalcy after everything they've gone through as of late. But I just recently hit the first point. We're finally starting to dive into some real horror, and I'm so intrigued to see where things go next. The story is just so unsettling. Hey y'all, so I have officially finished out Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika Kim, and I really liked this. I do think this is very much a literary horror story. I wasn't really expecting that, especially based on the cover, but I think I am starting to learn I do really enjoy literary horror stories. I think Monika Kim really killed it when it came to the character creation of Ji-woon. The descent, I'm watching that unfold in like this really disturbing way, but you also just can't look away from it. After her father left, she ended up becoming the protector for her mother and her little sister. But at the same time, it's so interesting to watch how that aspect of her personality evolves while she's also starting to showcase some rather predatory behavior that's quite in juxtaposition to her protectiveness. Ji-woon is a Korean American woman, and I thought it was really cool how that aspect of her personality was always so prevalent in the story, but it never took over. It was showcased in the different parts of her life, but also coming off of that, the themes tying into racism and fetishization just felt so well done in this story. How the author presented them and some of these characters and Ji-woon's response to those things. And those aspects alone were horrifying, but the gore in this, the writing of those gory scenes weirdly feels so culinary, but also like completely disgusting. And I really loved that. It's making me very intrigued to check out some other books that I've heard kind of ride that line. I just loved watching Ji-woon be like pushed to the brink and then finally starting to fight back and to take her revenge. Oh my God, like the ending of this book was so satisfying to me. I loved how the author wrapped this up. There was a reveal that was done in such a clever way. I really loved the character work done here, but like the gory scenes in particular are definitely going to be sticking with me. This was 5 stars. I'm so glad I got this one from Evernight. I really, really am. This was so good. Right up my alley. Loved it. Hey y'all, so I'm a little bit more than halfway through the Invocations by Krystal Sutherland. Yeah, I took the desk jacket off. I'm really liking this. I didn't know where it was gonna go from the start. It's going so well. I'm actually really enjoying this. I think Sutherland kills it at character work. So we have Jude, who unfortunately has tied herself to numerous demons at this point, and they are effectively making her soul necrotic. It is literally just rotting in her body. Then we have Zara, whose sister has recently passed under mysterious circumstances, and unfortunately since then she's kind of let everything else in her life fall by the wayside in order to put all her focus into figuring out how to bring her sister back to life. And then finally we have Emmer, I think is how you pronounce it, and she is a witch. She came from a family of witches. Sam, really? You're right in the shot, buddy. You are so handsome, but I need you to not walk right in front of the camera, buddy. Unfortunately, her family were tracked down by witch hunters, and she has been on her own since she was like 14. Okay, he's literally laying down in front of the camera, so I'm just gonna accept this and give him pets. These 3 end up coming together because it seems like somebody is hunting down witches, women who have struck a bargain through Emmer with some sort of a demon in exchange for an ability. And now somebody is hunting these women down and taking these. So those are called the Invocations, the spell that is. And they're taking these invocations and taking the power for themselves. And these 3 characters kind of end up falling in together to try and figure out what's going on, try and figure out who's behind this, how are they doing this, and then by extension also sort of trying to help one another. So again though, the character work is so good. All three of these women have really solid personalities. They all stand apart. Every one of their perspectives feel different in the writing style itself. They each have distinct voices, which I really like. They all three have really different backgrounds, but it's interesting to see how they're connecting with each other in the end. I did think that this had some queer elements to it, and it does. Jude is a lesbian, and she definitely has a bit of a crush on Emmer. The way all three of them have become outsiders in everyday life, but with each other, they finally have kind of created their own, I don't want to say like a found family, because it's not quite that close at this point, but almost like their own little coven. And it's interesting that while yes, this is magical, yes, it's witchcraft, it also feels very logic based. Like it's clearly fantastical and speculative, but there are elements to it that just seem so like, oh, you know, that makes perfect sense when you explain it like that. And that's also part of why I really like Zara, is because she is sort of like the research queen. She's read everything she can on this. She's constantly throwing herself into learning more every time she's given the opportunity to interview with the girls and figure out more about how this all works. She takes it. Jude has also done the same thing in an effort to try and figure out how to fix her situation. So yeah, I'm really liking this. The character work, again, just so freaking good. And then the mystery almost makes me think of like The Diviners by Loveyoubye, but darker. Because while that book was fantasy and had some horrific elements, this definitely feels like a horror book. I mean, there are certain scenes that are very grotesque. Sammy, really? Come on, bud. No, I need you to lay back down. You were being so good. I'm almost done with this update. This feels like a pretty mature YA novel. I mean, yes, the characters are, I think they're all like 17. A lot of the stuff going on in the story, definitely on the higher end of YA. I'm hoping to maybe blast through the last half of this book tonight if I can, because I just don't want to stop. It's really good. Hey guys, so I have officially finished out the Invocations and I loved this. It was so good. I mean, really, the character work in this was phenomenal. I was so invested in 𝗖cie, Zara, and Jude's, their personalities, their backgrounds, their relationships with each other, like everything about each of them felt so fully fleshed out. I'm very impressed with the character work. Absolutely, I'm going to be reading more of this author off of that alone. I think the magic and how it was used in this was unique. It was very unsettling and creepy, but at the same time, it was super cool, super empowering with how the women utilized it in different ways. I was impressed at how Sutherland made it feel so grounded, which is funny to say when like these women are tying their souls to demons. I think the atmosphere and how it was used was also adding to that creepy factor, to the unsettlingness of the magic. And then the feminist vibes going on, mixing the character work and then the way magic was being used. So good, so impressive. I really liked that. It also kind of had a eat the rich sort of theme happening too, which appreciated very much as well. This does have a slow start. I mean, it does take its time in getting to know each of the three women, really exploring their backgrounds and like what's tying them to the magic and also this mystery in the first part. Once the three of them come together and the mystery takes off, I was just so freaking pulled in, so engaged, did not want to stop. I read this book in big bursts where it was like I would sit down and I would keep reading until something would stop me. Like I didn't want to stop reading it, but I would have to because I was just that invested. Literally the only, I don't even want to say like negative or critique honestly, because I don't think it is, but it's just something I do want to mention, is the fact that the twists that took place at the very end, revealing like who was behind this, I guess both of those, I figured them out, but I don't think either of them were so obvious that I pointed to that and was 100% confident in it. It was more like there were little pieces of evidence here and there that made me develop that theory. It wasn't so obvious though, it wasn't in your face. I think just really the story was very well laid out and the hints were woven into it really well, so that if you are paying attention to it, you can figure it out. If you don't though, it is a shock. But even with me figuring it out, it didn't take away from like the emotional punch of those reveals, because it's definitely there, 100%. Yeah, I absolutely love this. I'm so glad I get to keep it on my shelves given the fact it's just so freaking pretty. Yeah, this was a big ol' 5 stars. So on that note, at this point, Evernight will be coming out with their 5th book in October, and I am very excited for that one as well. Looking at these 3 that I've already received previously, I absolutely do think Evernight is worth it, especially if you're interested in scary, horror, unsettling stories. When it comes to the aesthetics and the remaking of the books, obviously that's going to be up to each person's taste, but I love all three of these covers. I love the end papers, I love the sprayed edges, so abso-freaking-lutely, I am going to be continuing the subscription. The hope is now that I will actually continue to read the books when I don't have a video for an excuse. So on that note, that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me the eye emoji in the comments. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!